Hi, everyone. Welcome to Brand Boutique Elite. I have a very special guest, Angel Tuccy. She is a PR maven, and we are super excited to share some great tips that are going to help you grow your brand and give you even more exposure. Thank you so much for being on, Angel.
Oh, Farhana, I'm so excited to see you again.
I'm so excited to see you. So, Angel and I had met several years ago at Power Team events and Small Business Expo events, and we had traveled around the world together and speaking at all of these different events. And one of my favorite parts is being able to have lunch and dinner with Angel and the other speakers, and being able to share and really getting some great ideas and creating some great things together. So I'm so excited to see you. It's been a weird year not being able to travel and speak at events because we usually see each other at least twice a month.
Yep. Yeah, I know. We were seeing each other all over. We'd pop into a new city there to speak at an event, but it was always the hallways, the restaurants, where we really got to connect. And I miss it. I miss seeing each other. And I can't believe it's been so long that we've all been shut down.
I know. I feel like this year has gone by so quickly. It feels like it was just, where was our last event? It was February in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. It was February in here. So what was that? 8 months. It was 8 months ago. Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
It's so crazy. And so you are amazing at PR and helping people really get exposure on different publications, on the news, on different press outlets. So how did you kind of come into that?
That's a great question, right? And so, I mean, I was in radio for 10 years. I broadcasted here from Denver, Colorado. I was a talk show host. We hosted the most positive business talk show in America, and we were nationally syndicated, coast to coast, an award-winning broadcast. And then in a commercial break, we would switch rooms, studios, go down the hall, and then I hosted a second 2-hour Christian lifestyle show. So I was the host of 4 hours of talk radio every day. So I've been on the inside track of what happens when you reach out to the media to be interviewed on the radio for a new book or something you're launching. I know exactly what happens, like where to send it to, what the process is, how to get booked on. And 2.5 years ago, when I walked into my studio all ready to put together 4 hours of talk radio, our producer called me in 5 minutes before we were scheduled to go live on the air and said, "We've made a change." And 5 minutes later, I'm walking out with my disco ball that I have still here, right? I have my disco ball, my cardboard box. I was 48 years old, and it was time for me to make one of those tough decisions in life, right? What am I going to do now? My daughters, who at the time were still living at home, said that same week, we're going to move to Florida. So I was becoming an empty nester. My son was going to college, and I was at that pivotal stage where I had a tough choice to make, right? I was 48. Do I reinvent myself? Do I start something new? Do I just go and binge, Netflix and eat Ben and Jerry's and be depressed forever? But I had just graduated. I had just connected actually with Power Team International, and they were looking for speakers, and specifically women speakers, to travel. And my niche was media. And they said they don't have anybody who's been on the inside, who knows what it's like to, what the process is. Could you come and teach what you already know? So for the next 2.5 years, I traveled all across the country, spoke on over 100 stages, and I've been teaching entrepreneurs how to leverage what I call OPA, other people's audiences, radio shows, television, magazines, podcasts, summits, on how to grow your business, get more exposure. And I do it. I don't know. I do it every day, and I just love it. Yeah. That was a long answer, huh?
Well, Angel cares really a lot about anybody that she works with. Everyone loves Angel, and anybody that has worked with her has raving reviews, and she really cares about helping them, achieve their goals and really get exposure. We all work with really great, speakers, authors, business coaches, things like that, that really have a great message and really have something to contribute to the world. And Angel does such an amazing job spreading their message and getting them, great press pieces. And even in like social media, so you can utilize your press pieces. So if you get covered on an article in a newspaper online, you can share that on your social media. You can utilize that on your website, and that's just kind of another plug, another piece of SEO for you to really put it all together and grow your brand. And people love seeing that these well-known names. If you're on like Fox, ABC, NBC, any of these, major networks, the New York Times, Boston Globe, any publication that people already know, and if you're a part of that, it just makes you more valid and gives you more brand awareness.
Yeah, those logos, I mean, there's a reason why people post those logos as featured on and as seen on. You see it on their social media posts, on their PowerPoints, on their media graphics, right? They put those logos there. And there's the psychology of that, Farhana, is that those brands are familiar, right? You aren't yet, right? Maybe if people are getting to know you, they're learning about you. And by aligning with a brand that's familiar to your audience, it elevates your credibility, right? They're now more familiar with you. So you speed up that whole know, like, and trust factor. And people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So when you are featured in the media, whether that's a press release or a media interview, or your article got posted, or you were quoted in an article, we take those logos and add them to all of your social media graphics. And so when people are scrolling, they see something that they recognize. And just by seeing something they recognize, they think that they recognize, like, that trust transfers immediately over to you. And and you said, I do care, right? It does matter. I think that we all have these amazing stories, and we're all out there as business owners trying to create a legacy, right? We're just doing the very best we can. But most small business owners are busy but broke, right? They're not getting clients. They're not getting the exposure for all the really amazing things that they're doing. We just did a press release for a company. They did a crafting workshop, a 4-day crafting workshop, and raised enough money to feed 5,000 people. They didn't get any media coverage for that. They didn't even think to get any media coverage for that. I've got another gal, she wants to eradicate world hunger. Like, this is not like some small story. She wants to end world hunger. And so she takes a portion of her proceeds from every tax return that they do and puts it into, and she is making a huge impact. But most small businesses don't ever even think about getting media coverage for it. So I love being able to bridge that gap for them and help them to get that story out into the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you are a business and you do, have a charity component of it, people love those stories. And also, like, you're doing something really great in the world. So why not get that amplified and let more people know about it so that you can have even a greater impact?
Absolutely. I mean, you're doing it anyways. And so I always ask people, what's new? Right? What's new? And my clients will give me a list. I'm speaking here. I'm starting a new course. I'm launching a product. I'm writing my book. It became a bestseller. Like, they give me this laundry list of all their exciting news, and they post it on social media, and you should. But there's a missing component. If you're not reaching out to your local media, they are looking for stories. They're looking for content. And the way that they get their news is through press releases. And it's so easy for you to draft up and submit a press release. Every single news outlet on their web, your local news station on their website has a place that you can submit a press release directly to them, because they're looking for stories every single day.
So would you say that you should start off with like your local publications?
Absolutely. They're the easiest way in, right? So if you think about getting major notification or major media coverage, major media platforms get their news from their regional affiliates. So kind of their regional collaborative stations. And the regional affiliates get their news from the local stations, and the local stations get their news from press releases. So it's an easier, there's not as much competition. There's not, I think it's just an easier way to get started. If they like your story, Farhana, so imagine you submitted something to your local news station and they're like, this is incredible. And they sent out a news crew to cover this story. That could go to their regional. They could send that up to the regional, their because it's all like an ABC, NBC, CBS. They're all on these major networks. So they could send it inside. So it's way easier if it comes from the inside. Somebody who knows the story is going to their, hey, here's a news story you guys should feature. And then they can send it up the chain. And it all starts from a press release to your local news station.
What would you say makes a story exciting?
Well, it's got to have community impact, right? It's got to, stories are sticky. And if it's something a little bit dramatic, news, if you ever look, they like the drama. They like those dramatic stories. So, right now we just had a pizza restaurant who donated a car to, they had a contest and they gave away a car. And the woman who won it, she was a cleaning lady. And she was Ubering, right, to all of her homes that she was taking care of because she didn't own a car. So think about the impact of her now having a car. And so that was like one of those community feel-good stories. And they gave this woman a car and they ran a contest. Of course, with feeding 5,000 people, that was pretty impressive. Tracy, she started a horse rescue equine ranch, and we knew one of the local newscasters loved horses. She had a horse in her profile picture, right? So we sent the story directly to her, and they sent out a news crew to cover it. So remember, they're humans, right? They're just people too. And so if it tugs on their heartstrings or gets them any emotion, happy, sad, angry, right, scared, if it taps into an emotion, it's usually a pretty good story.
So if somebody has like a product launch, a service or a product launch, something like that, but it's not necessarily like there's no charity component in it. And it's kind of just, like their product launch or maybe like their book launch. And like, how do you, I guess, heighten a sense so that somebody would find it interesting in like just somebody's business launch of their product or service or book or something like that, or an event?
Yeah, so publicity is a little different than marketing, Farhan. I think when we think about marketing, we put this marketing copy to it, and we create all the hype and the energy and the excitement for our customers, right? Because we want our customers to take action and buy that from us. Publicity is a different spin, right? It's a different angle. So I always tell my clients, you got to take your sales hat off and put your publicity hat on, because it's the story. What's the impact? So I always ask, okay, so you wrote a book, you've got a product launch. What's the big idea? Right? What's the impact of putting this book or this program or this product out into the world? And we gotta dig a little deeper, right? We kind of stay here on the surface of, well, it's gonna change your life, it's gonna make your life better, faster. Okay, so what? What's the big impact if somebody doesn't buy it, or let's say the whole world started reading your book, attended your event, and it had this really large following, this large impact into the community, how would the world be different? If you can paint that story. And so an example I used to share was Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Did you ever read her book, Farhana?
Yeah.
It's cute little book about decluttering. Really not sexy, right? It's decluttering, getting rid of your stuff. But she had a method, the Marie Kondo method, where she wanted you to hold on to each item and see if it sparked joy. So that was a different spin on let's just get rid of your stuff, right? It's, does this spark joy? And then she wanted you to fold like everything into these teeny little like sushi pockets, right? Like it was, a unique turn on it. But she wrote her book. Her book became a bestseller. She ended up turning that book. She started a TV series on Netflix and had 8 episodes of a TV series that she launched of taking a family through her methodology. Within 2 weeks of her book or her TV show coming out, every local consignment store or thrift store was at 145% capacity over the year before. That's impact, right? She's encouraging people to go and clear out their stuff, right? And so by doing that, now 3 months later, they're all like they're at maximum capacity, can't even take any more of your donations. That's impact. So think about when you get your story out into the world, your book, your product, your service, if you can paint the story of this is gonna end world hunger, it's gonna end world, it's gonna create world peace, right? Communities are gonna come together, families are gonna be tighter, right? Like what that story is, if you can paint that story to the media, that's a story they're likely to pick up. But for Hannah, even if you don't have that story, let's say I just don't really know, right? I'm launching a book, I'm launching a course, I would just like to get some publicity out of it. You can still distribute a press release. And the press release, at the very minimum, if it gets picked up on and just shared on their news outlet, like on their website, that's media coverage. Right? The local ABC or NBC or CBS station, your press release is on their website. You can share that link on your social media, that masthead of those logos, follow it. So they might not come out and interview you. They might not want to have that story just yet, but you can still get publicity by having that press release featured on their publication, on their website. And by putting a press release out month after month after month consistently, now they're more likely to pick up your story and pay attention to you because now they've heard of you.
So how do people, what are some of the, I guess, the things that people are doing when they want to get press, but you see are like the most common mistakes?
Well, again, it's a different type of marketing when you think about publicity. With traditional marketing, you want to be found according to what people are searching for, right? So if somebody's typing, I want the best Instagram, how do I learn, Instagram, right? And who's the best at teaching Instagram, right? For Hannah Cannon's going to come up, right? Because this is the space that you live in, right? So if somebody says I'm looking for red shoes for dogs, right? And they're going to Google search that. Google's going to go out and find all the answers because they're this search engine, right? So they're searching for the answers that people are looking for. So no matter what you market, you want to make sure that when people ask for it, you're found in a search engine result. With publicity, it's different because they've already heard of you. So maybe they've heard you speak somewhere. They've heard you saw you on a TV feature, heard your interview on a podcast. So hear you speak on stage, saw your quote inside of an article. So now they've already heard of you, right? The one thing I would see when I would go and speak at all these events, when the person was up on stage, the people in the audience are looking her up, right? They're following Farhana on Instagram, right? They're looking up your Instagram channel. They're looking for you because they've already heard of you. So it's not a sales pitch. It's not an infomercial. It's really you kind of dictating the narrative, telling the story of who you are and the impact that you're making in the world. So when they look for you, what they find is all of these media features that you've been picked up on. So for example, Taylor Thompson started a brand new network for women called the She Network. The She Network are some pretty common words, right? If you were to Google those in, right? So when you type it in, there's like 2.8 billion results. But because of her press releases and her speaking on all these other stages and being interviewed, what rises to the top organically without being paying for it is her network, her website, her Facebook, her group, like all of her stuff, because underneath it are all of these publications that picked up her press release story. Even without them featuring her, like even sending out a news crew, she's still getting the media coverage through her publicity.
Awesome. So what would you say are like your 3 steps to get started in getting, some publicity? Like if somebody's listening right now and they are a business owner, or they're, creating an event or have a charity organization or something like that, and they don't know where to start, what are like the first 3 steps that they could do to get started?
So yeah, first of all, what's new, right? And it's got to be current events. With news and publicity, it's not an evergreen, right? It's not that I'm open for business every day. You were open for business yesterday. It's got to be something new. You don't hear on the news 3 weeks ago there was a traffic jam on the corner of Main and First, right? And so you really do have to say it's a new event, it's a new book, it's a new program. I've put together an infographic for Hannah, and I can send that to you, but it's 52 press release ideas so that you can start to brainstorm of what qualifies as something that would fit for a press release. So I've got 52 ideas. The goal is to put out one a month. Right? One a month will get you the consistency, put you on thousands of media news desks, build that relationship with local journalists, and that's the key, is that consistency. So look at your calendar. Like, what have you done recently? Look back 2 weeks and look ahead 2 weeks. And I always tell my clients, put the date of your birthday as press release day. So my birthday falls on the 18th of the month. So every month on the 18th, I set up a recurring reminder to remind myself to put out a press release, because it is the easiest thing to not do. There was a great event a couple months ago where they had all the top influencers from all over the country were all on this one event. And they had hundreds and hundreds of, maybe not hundreds and hundreds, they probably had about 100 speakers. And I reached out to a couple that I knew were speaking and said, make sure you put out a press release. Right? You're sharing the stage with these folks. And if you miss the opportunity, it won't be news anymore and you'll miss it. So putting that date on your calendar to remind you is going to be critical. So number 1 is it current event. Number 2, put that date on the calendar to remind you. Number 3 is remember that a press release, it's all about the facts, right? It's not sales hype. It's not marketing, no exclamation points, no big claims, no promises, right? It's just the facts. So for Hannah Cannon, launches podcast, right? For Hannah Cannon, publishes book, right? It's your name or your business, if it's your company name in the headline. Think about extra, read all about it. My company is doing this. It's a current event and this is what's happening. And then just put the bullet points to back up and support that headline and submit it directly to your local news station.
So if there's an event, like how this event, you knew a lot of the speakers on there, how far in advance do they have to release the press release for that event?
So again, it's a current event. It's not a sales pitch, right? So probably within a 2-week window, no more than 2 weeks ahead of ahead. If you want to kind of create a buzz about something that's coming further in advance and create this narrative. So when you schedule the event, right, you can say that it was scheduled. This is where it's going to be. This is who our headline speakers are. This is what we're covering. This is the impact we hope to make. And as soon as you schedule it, so that could even be 6 months, right, in advance, or 3 months in advance, 2 months in advance, because that's the new thing. We just put this on the calendar. We just scheduled it. We just locked in the date. We just opened registration. That's the new thing. Then if you get later on closer in, maybe you hit a milestone. We've already sold 100 tickets. We already sold out. All the early bird specials, right, are pre-sold. We added some special bonus. So every time you add something new is giving you the opportunity to create the next headline. Or you could just say, hey, this event is happening. It's happening in 2 weeks. Here are the details. Here's where you can register, get more information. Here's who's going to speak. And then after the event, right, within 2 weeks. This is what happened at the event. So every milestone of putting that event together gives you an opportunity to create the press release as long as it's within those 2 weeks.
Okay. So you can do like, so one press release a month is good, but you could do more if it was like a big event or something that you really want people to know about.
There's no limit to how often you can put out a press release. I mean, as long as it's something fresh and new. But, kind of we give our secret formula because, for small business, you stay in your lane, right? You do what you do best. One a month is enough, right? To paint that picture, to give you the publicity, to give you the social media post, to create the narrative, to give you that search engine result. It creates that consistency. And so just this week or last week, we did his 5th press release for somebody who he's got a chapter in a brand new book. And I think I must have deleted it. Oh, shoot. Oh no, it was amazing, right? So we did this press release and this is press release number 5. And so it ended up getting, and this is me like showing him on my screen. I was so excited because every single one of those are media desks that picked up his story, every one of them. And that was page 1. It actually went on for 6 pages. I was like so excited for him. And then it just went on and on. So I'm like scrolling and I just sent him this quick little video. But that was his 5th press release, 5 months in a row, being consistent. The more often you put your story out, the happier it makes the news desks, the happier it makes Google. And every time you post and share one of those on your social media pages, like people are like, wow, she's being here. She's here. She's here. She's everywhere. I should at least check her out, right? I should pay attention to what she's doing. I should follow her. I should get more involved. I should comment and play with her a little bit more. And so even without you being salesy, it's that fear of missing out, the sociology of wanting to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And you can create all of that by being a guest on, being interviewed on somebody else's platform. We tell our clients to do 2 interviews a week and 1 press release a month. And that is enough to put you on 100 stages and in front of thousands and thousands of media desks every single year.
Yeah, and that's so true. So when you are at an event or you're, being interviewed on a podcast or any kind of platform, I always tell people, follow me at iMedia Exposure on Instagram, and it just gives me another opportunity. So this is another tip of like how to grow your following. If people are seeing your, articles all over the internet, if you are speaking at a ton of events, if you're on different podcasts, if you're partnering with other people, it just gives you another way. So, sometimes people on social media are like, oh, how do I grow my following? And there's so many different ways, but also too, like being known in other aspects. That's how you grow your following too. And there's some brands that they're like, oh, well, this person has so many different people following him or her, and they have so many followers. How do I get to that point? And it's like, okay, well, just look at how many times do they show up in an article? How many times did they speak at an event, or how many podcasts do they have their own podcast? How many people are they getting in front of on other platforms rather than just, staying on social media? And so it's this whole marketing mix that I feel like people really need to put that into their plan. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people are just like, oh, well, we just want to do this one thing. And it's like, well, you need to compile it all together so that you can grow in every aspect and utilize, getting in front of as many eyes. It's not just one road to go down.
It's the combination that is the success. And if you're just doing one thing and thinking that that's going to hit it all, it's just going to be slow. And so when you combine the efforts, right, of the social media and publicity, right, all of it together is where the explosion happens. And I mean, you've seen like people like come out of the gate and 90 days later, right, they've got a podcast, they're on stages, they're published, they're being seen everywhere. And it doesn't take years. It can literally turn your business around within 90 days. But you've got to take inspired action, right? You've got to step into and believe like that your business is worthy, that you've got a story to tell, which is where by taking that assessment of what's the big idea, like what's the big impact, will remind you, right? Okay, I am doing something pretty incredible in the world by putting out a story every single month. You look at your to-do list and all that. I did write a book. I did launch a course. I did align with a charity. Like, look at all this stuff. I mean, entrepreneurs, we run circles around people every single day. We hold ourselves to a higher, I think, not it's not standard. Like, we're just so busy. Like, we're just always doing stuff. We're being creative. We're being innovative. We're networking. We're aligning with people. We're making this impact. But because we do it every day, we forget how valuable it is. It's like, does somebody really want to hear this story? Does it really matter to somebody else? Will people pay me for that? And so we focus on exposure and revenue, reminding you that what you do matters, that you are an expert, right? Even if it's something that people are just wanting to pick your brain about, if they've asked you more than once, people are coming to you. And we downplay the value that we bring to the table. But by putting your story out every month, you're like, oh, all right, I'm going to celebrate that milestone. And instead of just checking it off and going next, I'm going to take a moment and I have a gal who every time she brings on a new author, they do publishing, she rings a bell. Like, she calls me and we ring the little fake bell, right? Right? To say, look, I accomplished something. We're going to be burned out, right? We feel like we're just busy with no success. And yet when we look at the trail of accolades behind us, I don't know, we should give ourselves a little pat on the back more often.
Yeah, I think as entrepreneurs, we're also busy doing so many things all the time that it's like, okay, a success or a win, it's like, okay, it's a checklist. It's like it's check off the list, like, okay, now on to the next thing. And there's so many other things to do now that, like I try to be more grateful for my wins and acknowledge myself for it. But I think it's that's a hard thing sometimes for humans to do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're not alone, right? If, I'll ask, like, what did you do to celebrate? How do you reward yourself? And we just check it off and move on to the next thing. So when we write these press releases, it almost is a little bit of a validation that I think we need to remind ourselves we are having successes, we are making an impact, and that reward will keep us going on those days where maybe we start to feel a little burnt out from just going and going. Self-care is obviously very critical, right? Taking some time for ourselves because we love what we do. So we just work all the time, but that's not why we got in business. And so when we leverage the power of other people's audiences, it takes us out of busy mode of just building our business one person at a time, like one-to-one, and really building it one-to-many. So now we can scale. Now we can start to delegate and automate. And the goal really then in getting into that 2 comma club, right? Where we're creating these $1 million businesses. We're not going to get there with one discovery call at a time, with one, building our business one person at a time. We've got to get your story out to the masses. We've got to get it out to many so that you can scale up and really then give back to those charities and make that bigger impact. And so it's like this infinity loop, right? The more successful we are, the more we can give back. And the more we give back, the more successful we are. And it just keeps going. And I think that's where that sweet spot is, right? And I'm giving back. I'm doing something I love. I'm making an impact. And I'm working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's when you are making a greater impact, even like when I'm talking to my clients, I have some clients that have been in business for years and they're like, I didn't really ever do the social media thing. And I don't really I don't know if I want to share everything. Mm-hmm. And of course, we curate what we're sharing. But what I tell them is your contribution. And if we don't share like your expertise with the world, there's going to be a missing. And so there's that component of like, okay, like we're going to like contribute to others and help and share great information and tips and what you have to offer, because if somebody gets that information, they can take that and soar. So I really love that, like sharing, making your big impact and sharing your story and getting out there. So if people, like, you're amazing and you've worked with so many people. So if people want to, work with you, how do they do that?
Well, thanks for asking. I think that for so many people, like, you just need to get started. You don't have to be perfect to start. Jim Rohn, right? You don't have to be great to start. You have to start to be great. And so we've got a media starter kit. It has the 52 press release ideas just to get your brain thinking, some guaranteed media exposure, how to write that press release, all the pieces just to get you started. Open that door of possibility and publicity. And you can get it at my website, makeyourbigimpact.com. That's makeyourbigimpact.com. It's a free kit. You can also, once you get there, you get a link to buy a copy of my book, ABCs of Exposure. It's an alphabetical guide to media, publishing, and speaking, which we take you step by step. I think actually I have it, right? We take you step by step on how to get yourself out there. And so ABCs of Exposure, when you go to makeyourbigimpact.com, there's a link there that you can get a copy of that as well. I think it's only 99 cents on Kindle.
Awesome. So I have a fun question. I ask all of my guests this. If you could be a superhero, what would your 2 superpowers be?
Okay, so number 1 superpower would, I don't know if it's like time travel, but I'd love to just like go from here to here, right? So like to be able to, I don't know, is that time travel? Like I just go from this event to this event, right? From this place to this place, because I'm always running behind, right? I'm always like, I think I can do one more thing here. And so if I could just instantly transport to someplace else would be like superpower number 1. Superpower number 2 is I think I want to stretch. I can't even reach like the top shelf or in anything, right? I'm petite, and so I think I would just love to be able to reach and be able to grab stuff.
That's so funny.
What would yours be?
Mine is I would like to fly, and I kind of like the whole like time, like getting one foot, like your thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm gonna fly really fast. So it'll kind of be like that. Because you know how like in Star Trek they do that like teleportation thing, and then sometimes like the people came back and they weren't, or they didn't come back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. You get like in a bubble, like something's not quite right when they put you back together.
Yes, I want to fly super fast, and I want to speak every language.
Ooh, that would be cool. That would be very cool.
Then we could go to more countries and speak on more events and more stages, and I'd be able to communicate.
That's a good one. That's a good one for Hannah. And how many? But you already speak a couple languages, don't you?
No, I can understand and speak a little bit of Spanish. I can understand a little bit of Italian, and that is it. Okay.
Who do I know? Who do we know? Don't we know somebody that speaks like 5 languages or something like that was on the speaker tour with us? Maybe I'm just making it. Maybe I'm just dreaming it. I thought you spoke. I don't know why. I thought that was you. In my head, you speak 5 languages.
I mean, I want to speak 5 languages. I just don't put the effort forth. I watch shows on Netflix in Spanish so that I can like practice.
I do too. I mean, that's how they say, a lot of people learned English was by watching TV. So if it worked that way, it could probably work the other way. I don't watch it enough for Hannah because you can't multitask, because you have to sit there and read the subtitles, like, and watch, like, you can't be doing something else. And so, yeah, you've got to totally be focused and like relaxed and just doing that one thing. And that's a little hard for me.
Yeah, same. I always multitask, always. So generally, like, that is a problem, but I'll watch it like right before bed where I know like, and I don't have to watch TV right before bed or whatever, but that's my thing. So right before bed, I will just watch a show because I know that I need to like focus. And also too, like having to read and like focus on what they're saying, I forget the millions of things that I need to do. And just kind of like, I'm like, all right, I'm in this other world now and we're going to stop the day and I'm going to go to sleep now.
That's brilliant, right? And then that's what's in your head is that other language that is in your head as you're sleeping. So that's a good idea.
I haven't dreamed in Spanish yet. I started watching a German show. I also was just finished like a whole Turkish series. So, no, only English dreams still. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you and learn. I've always learned so much from you. And I hope that everyone listening in also gained a lot of knowledge. And be sure, if you want to get your PR starter kit, to go to makeyourbigImpact.com.
Thanks, Farhana.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.